everybody! In today's video I'm going to be showing you a little gnome that is wintry but not necessarily Christmassy or any specific holiday, and it's just got this absolutely gorgeous color in the background. That's from Double Dip and it's a limited edition color that's kind of like an orangey pinkish with a couple different colors of huge glitter flakes in it. I am so impressed by how easy it is to work with that color because it has such big glitter flakes in it compared to some of them where you try to apply them and the glitter sticks off the end and you can't get it to work and all the glitter like clumps in one spot and you can't spread it out. But sometimes glitter acrylics are really a hassle to work with, and this one was just really nice to use. And then the little gnome on top is so cute and it's covered in patterns, and it's one of those designs just has so much going on, but it's just really cute. So I hope you love it as much as I do, and don't forget to click subscribe to see all my future videos as well.
So this first color, like I was talking about in the beginning, is called Love and Understanding, and it is super duper glittery, but it picks up really nice, and the glitter is so well dispersed throughout the mix that it doesn't, it just applies so nicely. And it's such a pretty color that really isn't necessarily Christmassy at all even. I mean, it could be used in a Christmas design like this, but it's not like contained to Christmas by any means. And can you guys see how well that applied and how easily it just kind of like tucks in and all the glitter goes where it's supposed to go? Again, super impressed. You can count me a fan over here. And then we're going to be encapsulating the nail with a layer of clear acrylic to make sure it is nice and strong. That first glitter layer I did was really thin. A lot of times with my colored acrylics, I do keep them kind of on the thin side just to save them so I don't use them all up right away and I can keep them for a longer time. And then file the nail into shape. And now with the color Toffee Pecan 469, we're going to be sculpting the base for our Mr. Gnome's face. So this is just an oval. It is very, very basic, and that's all you have to do for the start of our little face here because everything on the top of it is kind of built off of this oval. So figure out where, like, proportionally how much hat to body you want your gnome to have and kind of balance your face there. So now the color Hazel Grace, which is 456, and a really nice, just classic dark eggplanty purple. Even though it looks like it'd be brighter in the jar, it really kind of darkens up and gets really rich looking. We're going to be sculpting our little gnome shirt, or I don't know, outfit, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if they're really shirts or like jumpsuits more. Either way, whatever you want to consider it, sculpt the bodily covering. And I'm just going to do a second coat of that to give it a little bit more of like a 3D roundness to it so it wasn't quite so flat looking. And then I'm going to be taking the color Dear Santa, which is 683, and kind of I don't even want to call it a brick red, but it isn't like a true like primer red either. It's kind of somewhere halfway in between prime and brick, but it's just a really lovely color. And we're going to be sculpting a little bit of a scarf around our gnome's neck. So I'm going to set that color down and then press it out. And this color is another one that as soon as I started working with it, I was instantly in love because it sculpted so nicely and it just spread out well and it didn't have any weird textures on it. And my brush strokes almost immediately disappeared too. It just is such a nice consistency to work with. And every time I have a color that is like that, that is just so lovely to work with, I end up using it a bunch. So you guys will probably expect to see me using that one again, because whenever I'm picking up my colors for designs, I will always gravitate to the ones that are easier to use. And so yeah, that color is on the top of my favorites list. And then going to some white acrylic, I'm going to be sculpting her little puffy braided hairstyle. So this isn't, I didn't want to do like your classic 3-strand braid. I wanted to do more of like the kind where you put the ponytail in and then you put another one in and you like scrunch up the hair a little bit so you get like these little poofs in it. I can't wait till Melody's bigger and I can do all of my hair knowledge on her. Maybe not. She's got such crazy curls that who knows what she's going to want me to do with them. But yeah, anywho, we've got these little white starts to it. So I've got the white hair that's sort of flowing down in a waterfall style down the side of her face. And then we're going to do those little puffs. So to do those, they're much easier to do with acrylic, I would say, than they are actually to do with hair, even though they're pretty easy either way. But we're going to do just like these little circles. So just pick up a bead of white acrylic, a small bead of white acrylic, and set them down and go back and forth side to side of her head so that they can set up a little bit between each one, and just set these little poofs of acrylic down. And because you're kind of going like up and over her scarf and stuff, you may have to do 2 coats on some of them that aren't as raised already. So like this next one that kind of falls in on the bottom of the scarf where it doesn't have that scarf to hold it up. It needs just a little bit more help, a little booster. So 2 beads will fix that one. And then keep adding these down as long as you want them to be. When you're making a gnome, you have so many creative options that you can have so much fun with it. So you can do a different hairstyle instead of braids. You could have done a beard if you wanted a boy gnome, or whatever you want to mess around with this cute little gnomey. When I was doing some just kind of fact finding for ideas that I wanted to spark my imagination with my gnome, there's so many adorable images out there that you can take inspiration from and kind of combined and patchwork until you find the gnome that has everything that you want in it. So you can really play around with them a lot. But now going back to my Hazel Grace, I'm going to be sculpting the hat of my gnome. And same thing here. There are so many different options for what you can do with the hat. I wanted to make mine like you don't really know exactly how tall and how crazy this hat is by extending it up to the point where it reaches the proximal fold of the nail and just kind of keeps going off into the neverland up there. And just kind of, you can, when something happens like that, it really can make the person looking at it sort of tell their own story, because this hat could stop right above where it gets cut off, or it could keep going for like 5-6 inches and you would never know. And so I got the first little start to the hat, and this place that I have it stopped here, I almost was like, this, you know what, I like the shape of this, I'm just going to call it. And then I said, nope, this has to be a little bit more crazy than that. And so then I continued it up, like I said, to that never land of the imagination. So we're just going to keep going with our hat, but you could have stopped it. Absolutely. And like stuck a nice rhinestone up there if you want it to be sparkly, or some more of your red Dear Santa color. Either way would have been fine. But if you want to keep going and make it extra crazy like me, then just keep adding more layers to your hat until you like it. But I am going to be adding the brim of my hat with the color Dear Santa. And I love the way those two colors play off of each other, the purple and the red. They're both very rich colors, and at the point they are right now, they look very similar actually on the nail, just because they're so close together and they're about the same depth of color. But then once you add little patterns on them, they really kind of show off as being different. So I just love the way that they are when they're next to each other, and that color combination would make an amazing gradient. You might feel like a red hat lady, but it would still look like an amazing, just because I know that they would gradiate so well together, just the way that their formulations are. So I've got that thin little brim of a hat going right across the top of her forehead. And now going back to the color Toffee Pecan, we're going to be adding her nose. So a really big nose that almost fills in the entire space between hat, scarf, and braids. So nice round oval nose, like a miniature version of the head or the face shape that we started out this design with. Do a couple layers of that Toffee Pecan so you can build it up into sort of a bulbous nose. Pat it out, play around with it until you're happy. And now with some acrylic paint, we're going to be doing all of our details. So I started out with just a little bit of brown to shade under her nose so that there was a bit more definition between nose and upper lip. And then with a very light gray, I added just a couple little details on her braids. Doesn't show up that well on camera, but it really does give her hair more texture. And then with a nice bright pink, I'm going to be doing some little stripes across the red areas of my Gnome's clothing. So we have stripes on the scarf, and then I'm going to be doing some stripes across the brim of the hat as well. So there's the first ones. And with this, you don't have to do the same pattern across like the scarf and the hat if you don't want to. You can do so many things. You could leave part of this design not patterned so that it wasn't as full of pattern and little details if you wanted to, or you could do so many different patterns, and you could do each section a different pattern too. So you can play around with it. And then with a gray blue color, I'm going to be doing the pattern on my, like the sweatery type pattern that's on the outfit of the gnome and on the hat. So I have my little lines going across as kind of my guide. And then in every third stripe, I did little X's, and then every third stripe, little S shapes. And then in the final section of stripes, I did little polka dots. So just sort of fill that in with your pattern, and you can make up a pattern as you go, or you can do something repetitive like I did. But it's just so much fun to do these little tiny designs. At least I think so. I love being able to fill something in with a pattern like that. And I'm going to add the rubber bands on her poofy braids with the same pink color I used on the red. And then everywhere I feel like I need to, I'm going to be doing a little bit of a black outline. And because this design is so intensely patterned, to make it so that you can tell where one thing starts and one thing, ends, it is nice to have some black outlines. I didn't outline absolutely everything, but I did come close just to make sure that it is easy to see what you're looking at. And especially, I mean, we've got a glittery background and then 2 different very detailed patterns going on top of it. The only thing that doesn't really have some extra craziness is our gnome's nose. So you want to make sure everything is easy to see. And then apply some matte top coat over our gnome and some gel sealer over the background. And this is done. I hope you guys are in love with this little gnome as much as I am. I know that this was a very requested design from me for before Christmas, and I almost didn't do it, but I'm so glad I got the opportunity to fill it in for you guys anyway, especially for all of those who did request it. So I hope you guys love it and got to see it, and I will see you next time. Bye!